Hi friends, one of the most challenging and rewarding types of books to write is the personal memoir. So this is where we're writing our story, our tragedies, our triumphs, the hero or heroine's journey that we have been walking step by step since we were born. But I have a lot of clients come to me and say, I'm just not sure if I'm ready to tell this story yet. How will I know? And so I wanted to give you 3 guidelines today so you can sort of self-assess whether or not you are ready to tell your story. So the very first one is, have I fully processed the story myself? Have I done the work? Has time passed between now and the story that I want to tell? Enough so that I have a bit of distance on it. Maybe I've done some therapy. Maybe I've talked to my friends about it. Maybe I've done, again, a bunch of journaling about it. But somehow I have worked through it. So it's no longer the scariest thing in the world to think about going back and actually writing it. If you feel fear at the thought of writing it, and not the sort of like challenging like excitement fear, but like actual terror, you have not fully processed your story yourself, and you're probably not ready to put it in the world. Keep in mind that when your book goes out there, you are going to get a lot of feedback, positive or negative. And when you haven't yet processed your story, I've just found over 20 years of working with authors, it's not pretty to start getting feedback about a tender spot that is still absolutely tender. So do your work before you write the book or as you're writing it, but don't put it out in the world until you can answer the question, have I fully processed this story myself, with a resounding yes. Okay, so number 2, and this is another assessment, is are you willing to write about the thing, right? The thing, the incident, the experience, the trouble, the difficulty, the loss, the infidelity. Are you really willing to write about the places that don't make you look good? Are you actually ready to put your true story, good, bad, and ugly, your human story, which is neither entirely beautiful or entirely terrible? Are you willing to put that onto the page? If you can answer yes to that, then you may be ready to write your story. If what I just said scared the bejesus out of you, then again, I would go back to number 1 and continue to process your story until you're ready to tell the thing that you're so scared to tell, the thing that is just, I don't know if I want to put it on the page. You're definitely not ready to put your book into the world. I think about Glennon Doyle and how she talked about writing Love Warrior, and how that book, it came out about 4 years after the the incidents that happened toward the end of the book had completed. 4 years was how long it took. She needed a couple years to digest. She needed a year to write the book. She needed a year to get it published. So just keep in mind that there may be a time gap that you need in order to be willing and able to have the distance on the incident to be able to tell your most vulnerable story, okay? Third self-assessment question is, am I willing to just write it down even if I'm not planning to publish it? Very often I have people who say, I don't have any time to spare. I have to be sure every single word I put on the page is going to be published. And I want to say to that, slow down a bit. Write down the things that scare you the most. Write down the stories you're afraid you're going to get sued for. Write down the stories that your mom is going to hate. Write down the stories as you remember them, even if that conflicts with the way your siblings remember what happened. These are important things to do. You must write them down. It's very important. That does not mean you're going to publish every single word that you write in the process. Your book is going to go through several rounds of revisions, and you're going to get safe early readers. Maybe if you have something you're a little afraid of in terms of legal issues, you're going to get a lawyer to read it and give you their feedback on what they think you should include and what you shouldn't. But if you're not even willing to write it down on the page, you're not ready to put your story into the world. Someone who's ready, fully processed, willing to be vulnerable is going to say, okay, I'm going to write this, even though it's hard, even though it's scary. I'm ready to write this. And then later I'll decide whether or not it goes into the final product. You got to remember, this is not a one-step process. Writing a book is a series of a million tiny decisions, one after the next. Right now, to know for sure you're ready to write your story, you need to make the decision, I'm ready to write my story. I'm ready to write it. I'm going to write it down. That does not necessarily mean I'm going to publish it widely right now, but I'm ready to write it the good, the bad, and the ugly, every single piece. So I hope that those 3 questions help you sort of sort through the question, am I ready to write my story? And if so, we'd love to help you at KN Literary. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. There are so many videos. I send out one every week, and I'm hoping to inspire you and inform you to the point where you are ready to put your book into the world. In the meantime, happy writing, best to you, and I'll see you again soon.